When Eleanor Whitfield was admitted to the hospital, her first words were, "Get that black nurse away from me. I want a white one." 3 months later, as the same woman took her last breath, her final words were completely different. "Gabrielle, thank you. You were my angel." How had this happened? How could a racist elderly woman come to see the nurse she hated most as her angel? The answer won't be found in hospital records, but you're about to witness one of the most beautiful examples in the history of humanity. In room 312 on the third floor of Riverside General Hospital lay Eleanor Whitfield, 78 years old, her gray hair always neatly combed, her blue eyes cold and distant. She had lived her entire life in the small towns of North Carolina, the daughter of a wealthy family whose father owned workers in cotton fields. Eleanor's world had been shaped by sharp lines between black and white, and those lines had never been erased. Years ago, as a little girl sitting on her grandfather's porch, she would listen to the stories he told her. "Eleanor," her grandfather would say, lowering his voice, "our kind is different. We're different from their kind. This is the law of nature." These words had been etched into Eleanor's mind and remained her guide into adulthood. On that Monday morning, when she was admitted to the hospital for heart problems, Eleanor wrinkled her face when she saw the first nurse. Gabrielle Washington, 34 years old, dark brown skinned with warm brown eyes, was a woman who always smiled. She had been nursing for 12 years and was respected in the hospital for the compassion and patience she showed to patients. "Good morning, Mrs. Whitfield," Gabrielle had said in a soft and professional voice. "I'm Gabrielle Washington, your assigned nurse. How are you feeling?" Eleanor's face had hardened, her eyes narrowed. Her grandfather's lessons came alive in her mind. "Not you. I want someone else." Gabrielle was surprised but maintained her professional demeanor. She had encountered such reactions before. "Is there a problem, Mrs. Whitfield? Please tell me so I can serve you better." "I don't want a black person," Eleanor had said without hesitation, as if discussing the weather. "I want a white nurse. I don't want someone like you touching me." The silence in that room fell like a thick wall. Gabrielle's smile froze. Her heart tightened, but she made no sound. This wasn't the first racist patient she had encountered. Unfortunately, she sometimes faced such situations, but she felt the same pain every time. Head nurse Patricia Kowalski came to Eleanor's room immediately when she learned of the situation. 50 years old with 25 years of experience, she was an experienced and determined woman who knew how to handle such situations. "Mrs. Whitfield," she said in a calm but firm voice, "Gabrielle is one of our most experienced and successful nurses. She can provide you with the best care. She has 12 years of experience and specializes in heart conditions." "I don't care what diploma she has," Eleanor said harshly and stubbornly. "I want a white one. This is my patient right." Patricia took a deep breath, maintaining her patience. "Unfortunately, no other experienced nurse is available right now. Gabrielle will take care of you. Or if you prefer, you can request a transfer to another hospital." Eleanor couldn't risk going to another hospital. Her insurance situation was complicated. Her financial situation had become difficult in recent years. She wasn't getting enough support from her children either. She was forced to stay here. "Then tell her not to touch me. Just bring the medications. Don't interfere with anything else." Gabrielle had heard these conversations through the door crack. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't allow them to fall. When she went home, she would tell her husband David about this experience. David was also a nurse. He would understand such situations. But the most shocking thing was her family's attitude in the following days. Eleanor had 3 children, Richard, Nancy, and Michael. All 3 were middle-aged, had successful jobs, and had established their own families. But when their mother was hospitalized, none of them came to visit regularly. Eleanor's difficult character had distanced her children over the years. Richard came the first week. 52 years old, dealing with real estate business inherited from his father, he was a man who had inherited his mother's cold and prejudiced attitudes exactly. When Gabrielle entered the room, Richard looked at his mother and grinned with understanding. "I see you're facing the same problems here too, Mother. These hospitals hire all kinds of people now. This black woman keeps hovering around me," Eleanor complained to her son. "I tell her I have the right not to be touched by her, but she doesn't listen. Richard looked down at Gabrielle. Please respect my mother's wishes. Don't touch her. Just give her the medications, that's all. Gabrielle tried to remain calm as she responded. Mr. Whitfield, your mother's medical condition requires constant close monitoring. Taking her pulse, checking blood pressure, observing medication reactions. Someone else can do these things, Richard said sharply and disrespectfully. You take care of other patients. They had to call Patricia Kowalski. Mr. Whitfield, we don't discriminate against patients in this hospital. Gabrielle will provide the necessary medical care. This is non-negotiable. Richard left the room angrily. That day he only stayed with Eleanor for 10 minutes, left hastily, and didn't visit again that week. Nancy came the second week. 49 years old, slightly softer than her mother but carrying the same prejudices, a woman living in her own world. She was visibly uncomfortable when Gabrielle was in the room. Mother, how long will this situation continue? Have you thought about transferring to another hospital? You know, in private hospitals you don't encounter these kinds of situations. There's no money, Nancy. You know my financial situation. I have to endure it here. Nancy perfunctorily held her mother's hand. Get well soon, Mother. But I'm very busy at work. I have children. I won't be able to come often. I hope you'll understand. She only stayed 20 minutes, then hurried out. Michael was the youngest son, 46 years old. When he came the third week, he had a serious argument with his mother. Unlike his siblings, Michael was distant from his mother due to childhood problems. Mother, are you still doing this nonsense at this age? The nurse seems very kind. She appears to be taking good care of you. Why are you still behaving like this? Are you going to take their side too, Michael? Are you going to support strangers instead of your own mother? Mother, I'm not taking anyone's side. You're just a sick woman who needs professional care. It's that simple. Eleanor angrily told her son. Then get out of here. I don't need a son like you, and kicked him out of the room. Michael never came back. By the end of the third week, Eleanor had no regular visitors left. Her children distanced themselves, saying they couldn't bear their mother's difficulty and irritability. Her old friends had already left her life years ago due to Eleanor's sharp tongue and racist attitudes. Eleanor was now completely alone, and the only person standing by her side was Gabrielle Washington, the one she hated most, the one she tried hardest to push away. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. In the fourth week, Eleanor's health condition began to seriously deteriorate. Her heart failure had progressed, she had trouble breathing, and her sleep was interrupted at night. Emergency alarms frequently went off in the middle of the night, and the on-call nurse would come running. And that on-call nurse was always Gabrielle. When she had her first night crisis, Gabrielle saw real fear in Eleanor's eyes for the first time in her life. The elderly woman could feel death approaching, and it terrified her. Please, Eleanor whispered breathlessly, call someone. Who should we call, Mrs. Whitfield? Someone who can help you. My children, call Richard. Tell him to come urgently. Gabrielle immediately called Richard. On the phone, she received this response. I'm very busy right now. I'll come early in the morning. Mother isn't exaggerating, is she? She called Nancy. I can't come at this hour. I'll look into it tomorrow afternoon. It's not too serious, I hope. She called Michael. Mother kicked me out of the house. I don't see the need to come anymore. You take care of it. When Gabrielle returned to Eleanor, tears were silently flowing from the elderly woman's eyes. She had never felt so helpless and alone in her life. No one's coming, are they? She said in a broken and trembling voice. I'm here, Mrs. Whitfield, Gabrielle said gently, without any judgment or accusation. Eleanor looked at her. For the first time, she noticed the real compassion, the genuine care in Gabrielle's eyes. Why was this woman helping her? She had another crisis the next night. Again, Gabrielle came running, held her hand, calmed her down, gave her the necessary medications, called the doctors. She never complained, never reminded her of what was said in the past, never showed anger. Why? Eleanor asked one night, her eyes teary. Why are you helping me? I treated you so badly, said such hurtful things. Gabrielle smiled genuinely. Because you are a sick person, Mrs. Whitfield, and I am a nurse. This is not just my job, this is who I am. But no buts. Everyone deserves love, especially in their most difficult and vulnerable times. It was at this point that something began to stir in Eleanor's heart. In the 5th week, Eleanor's attitude toward Gabrielle slowly began to change. She no longer called her that black nurse. She began to say her name. Gabrielle. Gabrielle, the pains in my chest started again tonight. I'm very scared. Let me check immediately, Mrs. Whitfield. Don't worry, I'm here. As Gabrielle gently took her pulse and attached the blood pressure monitor, Eleanor noticed for the first time how soft, careful, and professional her hands were. These hands, the hands she had hated, were actually healing hands. How long have you been a nurse, Gabrielle? 12 years now. Such a long time. Why did you choose this job? It's a difficult profession. Gabrielle hesitated, then answered with open honesty. When my mother died of cancer, I was 16 years old. The nurses who took care of her in the hospital were incredibly kind. I can never forget the compassion and respect they gave my mother in her final days. That's when I realized that being there for people in their most difficult times, giving them hope, is a very sacred job. Eleanor fell silent. She hadn't expected this story. This woman also had pain, losses. Do you have children? 2. David is 8 years old. Sophie is 10 years old. Beautiful names. Your husband, David. He's also a nurse, works in the pediatric ward. Eleanor thought, while you're here dealing with me, your children must be missing you at home. They understand, Gabrielle said with compassion. They know it's part of the job. My husband supports me because he does the same work. That night, Eleanor began to wonder about Gabrielle's life, her sacrifices. How could this woman be so patient, so compassionate? In the 6th week, Eleanor's physical condition worsened further, but her spiritual state strangely began to improve. She started looking forward to talking with Gabrielle, listening to her stories. Gabrielle, are you always this calm and patient? No, Gabrielle said, smiling sincerely. When the children misbehave at home, I sometimes get angry. When David messes up his room. When Sophie doesn't want to practice piano. Eleanor actually laughed. She couldn't remember when she had last laughed. Tell me about them. What kind of children are they? Gabrielle talked about David's love of football, Sophie's piano talent, their success at school, about how they all went to church together on Sunday mornings, what they talked about at dinner, weekend picnics. Church? Eleanor asked in surprise. Which church? St. Paul Baptist Church, on the south side of town. Eleanor experienced great surprise. I used to go to church when I was a child too, but I haven't been for a long time. A very long time. It's never too late, Gabrielle said. God waits for everyone. That evening, Eleanor felt the need to pray, which she had forgotten for a long time. She clasped her hands together and closed her eyes. Now what you see is nothing. The 7th week began Eleanor's most difficult period. She was now on constant bed rest, unable to move on her own. Gabrielle fed her, gave her medications, maintained her personal hygiene, and combed her hair. I'm so sorry, Gabrielle, Eleanor said one day with shame. Needing this much personal care? This must be very difficult for you. Don't think that way, Gabrielle said sincerely. This is my job, but more importantly, I really love you now. You love me. Eleanor couldn't believe it. Yes, you may be a difficult woman, but you have a good heart. You've just suffered a lot in life. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. No one had spoken words of love to her for a long time. Even her children didn't seem to love her. Gabrielle, I said really terrible things to you. So hurtful, so wrong. I know, but it's in the past. Can you forgive me? Gabrielle took Eleanor's hand between both of hers. I forgave you long ago, from the first day. In the 8th week, Eleanor had become very weak. The doctors said to call her family, to be prepared. But the family refused to come. Richard on the phone. Mother was very difficult with us. She always criticized, always got angry. Now she's living with the consequences of her own choices. Nancy, I have my own problems too. I can't deal with Mother anymore. I'm tired. Michael, she kicked me out of the house. She said, you're not my son. Why should I come now? Gabrielle had to give Eleanor this sad news. They're not coming, are they? Eleanor asked, with great disappointment in her voice. I'm very sorry, Mrs. Whitfield. Eleanor took a deep breath, her eyes filled with tears. Maybe I deserve this. I was a very bad mother. Too harsh, too critical. No, Gabrielle said firmly. No one deserves to be alone in their final moments. No one. Will you stay with me? Please. Of course I'll stay. I won't leave you alone. The 9th week was Eleanor's last week. She could barely speak now, didn't want to eat. But Gabrielle was constantly by her side. She held her hand, stroked her hair, read books to her. Gabrielle, she whispered one day, breathing with difficulty. Yes, I'm here. You are the best, most compassionate person I've ever seen in my life. I'm not, Mrs. Whitfield. I'm just trying to do my job. No, Eleanor said, her eyes filling with tears. You are a real angel. God sent you to me. Throughout that week, Eleanor told Gabrielle her entire life story. About her difficult childhood, her parents' harsh racist attitudes, how she instilled the same prejudices in her own children, her husband's early death from a heart attack, her loneliness, her fears. It's all my fault, she said. I lived a life filled with hate. I dragged my children down the same path. The past is in the past, Gabrielle said. What matters is what's in your heart now. Now I'm sorry, and very grateful. You taught me what love is. Wait a minute, don't miss this detail. The 10th week was Eleanor's final days. Friday night, she was having great difficulty breathing, couldn't speak. Gabrielle's shift had ended, but she hadn't gone home. She had stayed with Eleanor, holding her hand. Gabrielle, Eleanor whispered with her last strength. I'm here, I'm with you. I'm so scared. I'm here. You're not alone. You're never alone. My children, them. Forgive them too. They've also suffered. They've also experienced losses. Eleanor was breathing with difficulty, her eyes opening and closing. Gabrielle. Yes, sweetheart. Will you tell your children? Tell them that an elderly woman loves them very, very much, even though she never met them. I will tell them. I will definitely tell them. And Gabrielle? Yes. Thank you for forgiving me. You were the most beautiful gift in my life. A real angel. That night Eleanor took her last breath while tightly holding Gabrielle's hand, with a peaceful smile on her face. She was no longer afraid when she died. She was at peace. Gabrielle was crying, not just for Eleanor, but for all humanity. How could a heart so filled with hate transform so beautifully with love? You won't believe, but Eleanor's funeral was very quiet and peaceful. Richard, Nancy, and Michael came, but were very cold and distant. A few old neighbors and several hospital staff members attended the ceremony. The pastor gave a short speech, but the most touching and emotional moment was Gabrielle's speech. Eleanor Whitfield treated me very badly when we first met, Gabrielle said in a calm but strong voice. She rejected me, humiliated me, but then I learned that she was just afraid. She was afraid of what was different, of what she didn't know, of change. In her final days, she taught me the power of love, and I taught her the power of mercy. Eleanor is now at peace, because in her final days, she completely transformed the hate in her heart into love. After the funeral, Richard quietly approached Gabrielle. Thank you, he said, lowering his voice. No one ever spoke about Mother like that. You really loved her, didn't you? Yes, I loved her, Gabrielle said. Because everyone deserves love. We were bad children. Mother was difficult, but we were merciless too. Richard walked away with tears in his eyes. A year passed. Gabrielle was still working at the same hospital, approaching patients with the same compassion and dedication. At home, she had a photo of Eleanor from her final days, a smiling, peaceful photo. Her children David and Sophie knew Eleanor's story. Gabrielle had told them every detail. Sometimes people behave badly, but that doesn't mean they're bad people. They just need love, understanding. One day Richard came to the hospital. He found Gabrielle, holding a small box in his hand. I want to give you something, he said. I found this when we were clearing out Mother's house. She left this specifically for you. Inside the box was a gold necklace and a handwritten letter. The letter read, Dear Gabrielle, I got this necklace from my grandmother. I wanted to give it to the person I loved most, who was kindest to me, but there had never been such a person in my life. Now I'm giving it to you, because you taught me love. You taught me the beauty of humanity. I hope your children will be as compassionate and as strong as you are. I will remember you forever with love and gratitude. Your Eleanor. Gabrielle was crying as she read the letter. Richard was also wiping his eyes. She had really changed in her final days, Richard said. We never saw it, but you did. You gave her a second chance. Eleanor already had a beautiful heart, Gabrielle said. It just needed to be brought out, revealed. This story teaches us one of life's most important lessons. Love conquers hate. Compassion is the most powerful antidote to prejudice. And sometimes the most difficult, most problematic people are actually those who need love and understanding the most. Gabrielle didn't just provide medical care to Eleanor. She gave her back her humanity, helped her rediscover the goodness in her heart. And Eleanor also learned in her final breath that love knows no color, no race, no past. Love only knows the heart, only sees compassion. Today, Gabrielle still works, still approaches patients with the same compassion. She wears Eleanor's necklace every day, reminding her that every person can change, every heart can learn to love. And perhaps most beautiful of all, David and Sophie tell their mother's story to their friends at school. My mom says, Sophie begins, everyone deserves to be good. They just sometimes need help. This story isn't just Eleanor and Gabrielle's story. This is all of our story, because we all have a little Eleanor and a little Gabrielle inside us. The choice is ours, hate or compassion. The answer lies in Eleanor's final words. You were my angel. Sometimes angels walk hospital corridors, wear nurse uniforms, and have hearts filled with love.